Hello, basketball world. This is 3 Better Than 2 podcast, and it's me, Dimitri, Dylan Sales, and we got a guest. Try to get him for a while. He's always busy, always meeting. DJ Morris. Good seeing you. What have you been up to lately?
Like you said, a lot of meetings, playing basketball again, and just trying to get this company going.
Nice. You were one of the first guys that I saw when I came to Chicago and I moved to Chicago. You were a player then. But yeah, we worked out first and then slowly grow into coaching and training. Tell me about your journey as a player.
Started playing basketball, I think about 5th grade, in grade school. And then I played, and that's kind of when I fell in love with it. I had really good friends, and I played at Transfiguration in Wakanda. Still friends with those guys today. So it was a really cool team. Matt Mooney actually played with us too. He played here. Let's see. I went there, and then I played Illinois Magic, AAU. And then I went to 7th grade, played at Wakanda. And then I moved to Tennessee, and I played there, played an AAU team there. My mom actually started an AAU club, which is kind of Middle Tennessee Hoops. And her dream was like build this huge basketball facility because she knew I wanted to go into coaching. So I was like 13. I already knew I wanted to be a coach and a trainer. I got obsessed with like all like the Gannon Baker basketball and all the better basketball videos. Michael Lancaster came out doing all that. And then came here when I was a sophomore. So my sophomore year, I moved here this summer going into my sophomore year. And I tried out with like a bunch of different AAU clubs. Tried out with, that was Enjoy the Game, everything. And then I met one of my teammates at St. Viator, Danny Munch, was like, hey, you need to check out this place, Full Package. Mm-hmm. And then I went out and did a workout at the Bannockburn Center, and it was a bunch of little kids and Steve there running around. And then I was like, hey, Steve, I'm here to try out Full Package. And he's like, all right, everyone on that side of the court, me and you full court 1-on-1, 51. And we were working out, and then I beat him on a buzzer beater half court shot. He punched me in the stomach right after, and it was like, okay, this is where I'm playing. And then I think was it that summer that you came, or?
Well, I believe I came in 2010 summer, and then I left to Indiana, and I came back later that fall. So I would say I did see you a little bit in 2010, but the mostly was 2011.
That's what I feel like 2011 I spent the most time with you. That's when you started like training me, and I was working out with you, and then I would like do the training practices with you. Yeah. And then that was like good because I was able to like learn from you as a coach, and then like do training with you, and then also, get better.
That was fun. Yeah. What was next after Viator? I know you have a few good winning seasons, and I went to saw you play a few times. What was after?
Yeah, so went to Viator, and obviously I played here at Full Package. So I started on the 2nd or 3rd team. Dom was my coach, and I played for Dom.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Shout out Dom. But Dom was actually great. Dom just gave me the ball. I was like, do whatever you want. It was fun. It was really good time. But then Steve would put me on, like, I'd play on the 16s, 17s. I'd play in a bunch of teams, and that was really fun. And then I worked my way up in training. I think that junior year, your summer, when you were like, we were really here, I locked in, and I think I would spend like from 9 a.m. until like 5, 6 p.m. here at the warehouse. And I just lived here, and Steve would make me do the strength workout like 4 times a day. He'd be like, DJ, do the strength workout. Yeah. And then it was like, hey, these new kids came in, DJ, do it again with them. Do it again.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. And then I think what I got a lot better was like you were playing, we had Matt Volgrich, all those guys that eventually all played Division I, like really good players and pro players. And we get to like mix in those workouts. So just even being able to play in those high level games made me jump. Like, so when I went back to high school, it was like completely different. Right. When you're trying to go up for a layup against Dimitri, and you're trying to go up layup against like a high school kid, it's a lot different. So I think that year, and then I played on the top team here. That year we had a really, really talented team. We won our only real claim to fame that year was we beat all the top teams in Illinois, and then we won the Gym Rats tournament.
I know Walker still talks about it.
Except we would lose to Fred VanVleet every time we played them at prime time. I think we lost like 4 times to them, and all the points were like under 30. It was like 30-28 every time we played them because Fred just stalled and held the ball and scored every time. He broke my left hand on Fred too. Shout out Fred, thanks for that. Good job.
What was after the school? I know you were thinking to go to play college. I think it was between walk-on Florida State, and there's few schools that you have been thinking, but then what happened?
Yeah, I had I think my senior year, well, it kind of like started with the injury. Like I broke the left hand that AAU season. I broke my right ankle twice. I broke it in AAU. Then at the end of my senior year, I went up for that tip dunk against Highland Park, came down on my ankle, broke it again. And then after that, then I had a hairline fracture in my ribs, broke my nose twice, stitches, mono, and I missed like 1 game. And I think at the end of the year, I was just tired of being in pain. And I had some of those looks, and I know I'd talked to Eastern too, and Eastern said that they would take me. And I think at that point I was just kind of done with basketball. And then I really wanted to get into training. So I went to North Central. North Central had been recruiting me for a while, and I went there for a trimester, and I just was like, I just don't really want to play anymore.
Yeah.
And then that's when, the split happened, and went to doing this full time. And then I really stopped playing basketball for almost 2 years. Like I really didn't even touch a ball for 2 years. I was doing the bodybuilding and lifting. And then I think you guys just tricked me into playing basketball again.
Well, I try to keep recruiting you in the Orthodox tournaments.
And I give it credit. I mean, I talk about it all the time. Is like I wouldn't have continued to play basketball if it wasn't for Dimitri and Monte and you guys. Like you guys got me back into playing with the church. We were playing with the church league, and then just started finding joy again playing, and then playing pickup, and then playing in the Orthodox league. Like winning those big tournaments again.
Yeah, it was a good.
It's like here, TJ play against Pastor Mike. You're really gonna love basketball again. I promise you. Like
you feel good. You build your confidence here. And then tell us about your pro career, because you end up going overseas, England and Croatia, right?
So I mean, from 18 to I think like 24 or 23, I really didn't do anything. Like it was like no basketball, and then I just started playing leagues again. And then I started with the Orthodox League, and then that fed into me doing I did the trip to China with Cornbread, and then Mike DeNuno got me with a guy, Mike, gosh, I can't pronounce his last name right now, but Mike, he does trips in China with like pro tours. And he was like, while you're out there, why don't you play? So I did some workouts, and then he was like, yeah, why don't you do the tour? And I got to play with Carl Landry.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and then, I mean, just such a fun experience, like going out there and playing. And again, I got hurt, of course, but I played 3 games, and it kind of sparked my love again for it. And after that, I was like, I really want to play. And then kind of switched my head from being a coach back to a player, and was looking for anything to play in, leagues, Lifetime, LA Fitness, anything I could play in.
Yeah.
And that led me to reaching out to Jimmy Markham in London. And he's like, well, you can go back to college here, and then you can start playing and then see where that takes you. So he hooked me up with a couple schools, and I was going to go to a school there, and then it was Middlesex, and it didn't kind of work out. And he's like, well, I know another school, West London, their basketball team's not good, but if you come out here, you can play in the NBL. And he's like, and I'll coach you. So I went to that school. We were in like the lowest division, which honestly, again, great for my confidence.
Yeah, right.
I think it was like
keep cooking people.
Yeah, like one game, I think in a playoff game.
5 masterminds.
Yeah, like literally, yeah. We scored, it was like 90-4 one game we won. And then like we played another game. I ended up not even playing that game. I was like coaching. I had a really good coach there too. And I went to, I think in one game I scored like 75 of our 78 points. We played in the playoffs.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great. And then I played in the NBL, and then that was kind of funny. I played like 3 games with them. We went right into the season, and we lost our first 3 games.
Yeah.
And then I got a phone call from Steve, and he was like, DJ, if you can't win there, your pro career is probably over. You might as well just come back here and work for me. And I was like, got it. So I went to our coach, and I was like, Coach, let me run practice for a week or two. And we just did all defense because we were giving up like 90 points in that league. No way. And we did all defense for like 2-3 weeks. And
so you start running practices for the team you were playing on.
Yeah. And it was just all defense, help side, closeout drills, basic defense drills. Yeah. And we started averaging giving up like 70, 75 points a game. And we won our last 7 or 8 games of the season, and we made playoffs. And then we played the best team, and that didn't go well for us.
No more Pastor Mikes.
Yeah. And then, so then the next year I went back, did the same thing, and played the same school and same NBL. But now we went from being like last place in the league to being in the first seed. And we were in the first place, and then COVID happened. And I got lucky. I was actually flying back to play in the Orthodox tournament. And then as I was flying, they shut the border down.
Right.
So then I got stuck here.
Stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I always say you never know, right? Like you didn't play basketball for a few years and then end up going. Like same happened with me when I stopped and trained pretty much and coached for 3 years and then end up going, with Nuggets and Bakersfield Jam. Shout out right there.
Yeah, Bakersfield.
I guess I'm always interested how you very attention like to details, right? You're very, I don't want to say paranoid, but just very locked in on the little things and in players. Tell me where that come from.
Honestly, it's probably my family. There's some OCD that goes in my family, and I think just I know I have some of that, and how do I channel it to be effective? And I think I've had I always thought of things in ways to like make things as simple and efficiently as possible. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm watching a player or I'm watching something, I'm always trying to think about how can they do this easier? How can it be simpler? How can they move easier? And I think that kind of makes me always see extra movements and extra things. So, and I use it today, even in like business apps, like always trying to simplify, make things smoother.
Gotcha. The other thing that it's interesting to me, like myself or Coach Dylan, we really kind of like coaching and the team stuff, but some people like you are really interested in the training and like personal and like player development. So I would always interesting like the psychology behind it, or why do you think you prefer that or choose that? Or maybe it's not, maybe just how I see it.
Yeah. I think I have an interest in all of it. But I think I definitely gear towards more like dealing with the player and the player development side. And I think for me, again, I naturally like to help people. Like I like to serve people. And I think sometimes in the team setting, I struggle with like sometimes what's best for the individual is not really what's best for the team. And then I start getting conflict because I want to help the player. And then I don't like where I'm at. And I'm kind of fighting this in between myself, instead of like when I'm just helping the player, it's easy. Then I just focus on helping that player and how do I make them solutions. And I feel more who I am in that process.
It's like maybe because you struggle with like the love for basketball and like being hurt, and you kind of hurt yourself or in a process, and then now you're like trying to figure out how people not to get on the same spot, so you almost didn't have a good experience with like even your body, or like overworking, breaking down too much. And so then I feel like maybe that's, playing a role in it. But I'll give you an example. Like there can be a practice going, and then you would see somebody struggle and you will like find that person and you would be locked in on that person until you fix it while like the practice is going. So again, it's, like there's a Bible verse about 99 ships and one, and like you would always find that one ship to help, which is interesting to me. Again, like for example, I would always like is a group, and if somebody individual struggling with it, you got to move on until you have a time or place for it. but like I envy that you wouldn't move on until you help that person, because for that day, for that person, that might be, I'm not saying lifesaver, but life changer, right? So again, I'm looking at it different, and it's always interesting for people who does that different. So it's always pretty cool to like work with people who see things differently in a good way.
I think it's been really interesting. Like I think in the last year, well, especially even like I feel like I've found a really good group of it this fall. I think you're always evolving, right? Like I think again, like going back to my simplicity, I'm trying to make the practices very simple and easy to follow to where like the kids can work on, because I want the kids to think, and I don't want to be in the way of me having to tell them a lot. And how do I just make the systems and everything, teach them the things so the practice shows them what to do, and then they'll start doing the right things. And then I'm trying to do specific cadences and words and things that kind of help them go through it. And then when I do that, then the practice runs, and then that allows me to, the group is going, and then I can focus on the players.
I always give example of like midwidth theory. You know what it is? So it's like a bell curve upside down. No, just the bell curve, right? So on like the left side, if you pretty much not intelligent, right? Like you would come to some certain conclusion, and then when you're intelligent, you come to a different conclusion. But when you're very intelligent, you come to the same conclusion when you're not. Like lifting, you go heavy, you eat enough, you rest, right? And then you go people who intelligent, it's a proven fact, right? People who like bros, it's a fact, right? But then there's the people in between who think about protein windows and time of the day and this pre-workouts and this vitamins. So they overthinking stuff. So again, like for basketball players, like you said, if it's a simple, I would say to be a really good shooter, you got to be dumb enough for every shot to be a good shot. So then I'm with you about a simplicity of decision versus overthinking, versus like you got to be so intelligent that you manipulate your thinking, right? Which not that many people are there. Like there's only a few in the league. So how do you get that to a player?
Yeah, I think honestly, what I've found recently is that, especially with kids, is like they instinctually and intuitively kind of know the answer, and it's only like you said, like when they start maybe knowing a little too much and they start overthinking, that a lot of the problem goes. So I'm always trying to get that thinking away. So I think like our concept right now is just spacing. It's spacing. So I constantly am going back to spacing. And then every practice I'm teaching the same concept. And then of course we'll give them a little thing here and there as they advance. But it's almost funny. Like I was even talking about this, I've given more actions and more things to think about to the 7th, 8th graders. And if you actually watch our 3rd through 5th graders, they almost play a cleaner game because, well, one, I've given them simple. I haven't distracted them with some extra actions and things to think about. And so, yeah, I think if you want to do it, is like kind of simplifying things and letting the players read the game.
I recently heard this simple explanation of basketball offense is, first of all, make 2 guard 1, win closeout, which you create closeout, you win them, attack mismatches, and then spacing. So like if you just kind of follow those 4 simple rules, it makes everything goes. Because pick and roll, what it does, it puts 2 on a ball, right? Kick out, what it does, it creates closeout, right? A post up big on guard, or guard pulling out big, it's a mismatch, right? And then if the spacing correct, you have to make 2 people guard 1. Otherwise, you're just kind of standing and helping. So I thought it was interesting. Very simple, clean kind of explanation. But I love that you got to the place where you want simplicity. Same with language, with verbiage, like how do you say something during a game with 1 word or 1 phrase that players would understand what's happening, right? So instead of like, oh, they 2-3 zone, we need to screen out and then get middle, or it's like, hey, just do this, or this is it. So then it's simple, but it's very effective,
I think I sent you that. I can't remember the chess player's name, but I sent you that chess player.
Yeah. That's tactics. I read about it. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, his tactics are the same. It's like you focus on like instead of worrying about the end at like the end result, all you focus on is what's your next right move, and what's, if you follow your system, like you said, 2-on-1 spacing. The rest of his was like protect your pieces,
Right.
and like move every piece. So then his answers become simpler, and it leads to the outcomes he wants.
Yeah.
And I think it goes through, like what I'm trying to do with their character too is like you're working on the skill development and the gameplay, but you're working on who they are as people. And if you're constantly emphasizing like, okay, hard work, constantly emphasizing being a good teammate, well, you're doing those things because you're hoping that the outcomes eventually will be the things that you want. So I think again, it's like if you like, it's integrity. And I think sometimes people get all crazy everywhere with it, but if you simplify it, and it helps you what your next steps are.
Yeah. You got anything?
Not going on what you guys were talking about, but another thing that I appreciate about you, DJ, is like everywhere you go, you really like indulge and like respect the culture. So like when I went to visit you in Croatia, like you were just like explaining everything about like what the people of Croatia do, and like you like adapted your life to that. And then when you go to China, like I saw the pictures of you guys doing like national Chinese things and stuff like that, and you're just like really obsessed with
kung fu in the mornings, right? Is that what
like you just like you're just obsessed with like culture and like connecting with people at where they're at. And then when you train some of the people that have like different European parents, like you're like, oh well, they act like they respond like this because that's what they kind of do. Where does that kind of come from? And am I off on that, or is that kind of?
No, I appreciate that. I think
where does it come from?
Yeah, I know. Well, I think you're trying to always learn about things, and I think I'm always trying to test where I am in my thinking with people, and just because I feel a certain way doesn't mean that I'm right, or it doesn't mean my perspective on something is correct. So I think it's funny. I actually get in conflicts with Steve on this a lot, because he'll be talking to me about a situation, and I'll put myself in the person's shoes who's there, and then I'll start arguing with him as that person. And he's like, "Oh, wait, are you
devil's advocate?"
Yeah, I think it's just I start to feel like I want to feel how they feel in the situation, so I have a better understanding for them, and maybe I'll learn something out of that. Maybe I was wrong in my position, and then sometimes it's just like, okay, I know the situation's still right, but I understand why that comes from. And I think the culture part is, it's always just exciting for me to just experience something new and test like is the way we live in America the right way? Is it the way we live in Europe the right way? Maybe it's the way they do in China is right. And I always go in that mindset, and then I'm trying to learn, and then I take a piece back. Like from the China trip, I think the biggest thing, like we did the tea ceremony, and just the
a sense of community there.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Like they like
people actually think about other people.
Yeah. Well, because you live like
all the time, not
small
not
city.
sometimes.
It's 20 million people, small city. So you have to interact with people all the time. So they have all these community things built. So I think I got a sense of community back, and then mindfulness, kind of like you're basically like when they did the tea ceremony, every movement had a purpose, and it was like spiritual because of it.
Right.
So I think you can come back, and everything you do, like when you're serving a kid, or even just like eating or taking that, like of just appreciating the moments and being present.
I recently read the article about how like the modern world take away community, and everybody wants to be independent and live alone and in a house and a land, but like it took away a village, and then we all say like you grew up, you probably have people around you, right?
Yeah.
You grew up, you're like the relatives, the people, the neighbors, like who's babysitting kids? Like, oh, just go to our neighbor, just be there for tonight, So it's like it's never was a problem. And how there's a saying that it takes a village, and like we took the village away, just with all modern stuff and a phone and like separation, and that's why like the depression, all that in a rise now. It's the people made to be with other people, and that's why I'm glad we are doing what we're doing, because team sports kind of have a little bit piece of that you can't do stuff without it. And basketball is one of those sports where just because you're good, it doesn't get you anywhere. Like, what do you do with your team?
Right.
How do you involve your teammates? What a process like, so since we're kind of into it, tell me more about, like you talk about practice, and you mentioned practice and games. How do you balance a player development versus, let's say, team concepts within the practice, right? Let's say players should have on their own working, but let's say they only do multiple sports and they only do a certain amount of time. How would you balance as a coach a player development versus team development within a practice concept?
Yes, I mean, I think I used to do this first. I think I went skill first, and then I went gameplay second. And I think I'm kind of switching the opposite now of like, I want them to understand the rules of the game and the spacing of the game, and then simplify things, and then the skills are able to develop, and they'll understand why the skill is important now. If I go right to ball handling, or if I go right to shooting, like, why am I working on this, or why am I working on this left hand? But if I like put them in the spots, and then they kind of like understand the spacing, and it's like, okay, they can't do a layup great, perfect, but if they know how to get there, and then it's like, okay, well, now the game shows you the skills you need to work on. And I think for coaches is like, you get your systems and stuff in, and as long as you're getting the reps in, well, they're naturally already developing the things that you want them to do. And they're
we kind of talk about like perception, decision, and feedback, right? Like, you don't want to go to decision. You want to understand, like understanding and perception, like when to use it and when. Were you talking about youth team, or does it matter?
I think it doesn't matter necessarily. Like, even for like what I think you can do is then scale things back. So like, we even did this the other night, and I know we were talking about this, is like, I've removed stealing from, like, because our defense in our 7th grade is higher than our offense right now. So I actually reduced our defensive intensity so that our offense could relax a little bit and start to see the things. And as soon as our offense starts to catch up, then I'll and of course, I think it's all balance, right? I don't think there's a wrong thing to do. I think, again, like you said, it's just like when to do it and why to do it. And I think the secret of a good coach is, okay, you have your systems and everything, and then it's really, if you're doing most of your job, you're just watching. You're watching your kids, and then you're seeing, do you need more of this, or do you need more of this? And
games and practice.
Well, I need more work on defense, need more work on passing, need more work on this thing. And
so you probably feedback after the games, right?
Feedback after games, feedback. It could be during the games. It could be, again, I think your job as a coach is to figure out like when to push what things, and what, is it more like we need to emphasize passing drills more, or if we need to work on that. And that's the secret. I think there is no, like, I think a lot of people want to do it like systems, and like, okay, this practice we're going to have all these things, and of course you need some amount of game plan, but you need I think a coach, again, you make it real simple, and then you evaluate, and then you're adjusting, and you'll see, like, okay, maybe if you watch the game and you watch your players play, and then you need more ball handling with specific people, you can give them individual work. You can mix it in the practice.
That's pretty creative with defense. I recently saw Monte make this kid bring the ball, and the defender would pick him up full court, but because he was a shaky ball handler, he's like, hey, you can't steal it. So he would still go through pressure, full court pressure, without getting stolen. So like, sometimes he would fumble the ball on his own. But I thought it was an interesting concept, and it's pretty good. I always ask like a high school or college coaches before the season, what did they usually work on? And a lot of times coaches who start with defense kind of get a defense at the level where it chokes your offense, so then, but to build good offense, it's timing, it's confidence, it's the little things that defense keeps choking them. So then, like, oh, we can't score points. Well, you've been working on defense for first 2 weeks of the preseason. Like, you got it. You whatever you wanted, it's there now. Of course you can't score. Like, you should have started with that, or take more time with that. So like, that's reflection of what your plan was. So like, few coaches actually had to rethink exactly that, because everybody, especially new coaches, come in like, oh, we're gonna set the tone. It's gonna defense, and then it hurts somebody. But that's pretty good. That's creative to do that.
And
how do you come up with it?
I don't know. Well, actually, what started the concept is I called the drill the Michael Myers drill, because I had some kids that weren't good at getting their shot off the dribble. So I just started walking and then playing defense against them. And then we joke it was like Michael Myers coming after you, And then so we did that, and then
it's like a speed walking.
Yeah, it's like a speed walking defense. And then it's like, hey, if you can't score against a defender walking, then we can't play full out yet.
Gotcha.
And then and I'll do that with players. Like I'll add stealing only, and then I'll add blocking only. They can't steal it. And then sometimes we go full out. And I think it's about the percentage. Is like, okay, let's say we're playing a game to 101. Maybe the first quarter, I'm not stealing. Second quarter, I'm only blocking. Or, third quarter, it's like whatever, kind of like 70% intensity of everything. And then fourth quarter for last 5 points, it's like full out. Like, okay, the last 5 points might take like 30 minutes.
Yeah, right.
So they get a mixture of the intensity, right? And I think that's important in a game practice too, right? Depending on what you're working on.
Yeah, that's true.
And I like sorry if I cut you off. Steve like talks about those long games.
Yeah.
Well, those games, if you're playing to 161, you can't play super intense defense
right.
the whole time.
Not all the time, right?
But there are moments in there where there is like last 10 possessions of the game. It might be really intense. But I think sometimes for a long game, and then I think sometimes shorten the games for more high intensity offense. So I think if you find your right balance of what your team needs, do they need more offensive reps? Do they need more intense reps?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I've been advocating for, because everybody, especially in the pros, and they're like, oh, we need to develop our offense. But then you go 4 possession max. So then you're stopping all the time. Then it's a mental conditioning too. Like, how do you not stop and play? So then, like, what do we do? Oh, do you ever play like long games? Because they're all going to have fun with it. Like you're going to find players who might not be as good or might be great playmakers, but because they in a position where they don't want to make mistakes or then maybe not skill enough, you're going to lose those guys and you're going to put them in the boxes without that. So it's interesting. Like I had some conversation about long versus short games, and I love short games too, because sometimes we play to 4, which is pretty much 2 baskets, right? That's like the end of the game. You got to get stops. You got to shoot right shots. Right people shoot right shots. You have to be locked in. So there's a time and place for it, like you said.
I agree completely on that. There's and I felt this a lot when I was in Croatia playing, and like we actually, in the same kind of situation in Croatia, a lot of the guys started to show up in the morning. We'd play pickup, and as soon as we started playing pickup in the morning, we won like every game, and everyone like relaxed and came down because people are getting shots in practice. When we were struggling, I would talk to the coach and talk to the guys. It'd be like, we shoot 2 game shots in practice because you're doing like 3 possession stop or 1 possession stop. And I also noticed because of that, when the shot goes up, that was it. Like the coach would be like, okay, like shot goes up, it's no live ball because we're working on offense.
Right.
But then we get to games, no one's boxing out because we're conditioned to stop playing.
Or how the people get rebounds and run out. Like I never understood that. Like on those drills where you need to stop and that's it. I never understood, like, okay, you can't do that in a game. Like, why would you get the rebound and run out of bounds or travel with it? So, yeah, I get it. You got any?
I know you have like a training team that you've been working with a bunch of the girls. How did that all start? And then how do you look to add players? Like, what specifically do you look to add those players?
For like the group I train?
Yeah.
I think that sometimes I add the players, and sometimes the players kind of get to me. Yeah, it's really it. Like
sure.
you find a player that just kind of fits with you, right? Like, of course, like I'm not going to be the right coach for everybody, and
right.
like sometimes like I'm not like maybe they don't need the detailed version. Maybe they need someone else, And obviously, I try to meet every player where I feel like they need to be. But yeah, no, I think, and then sometimes I'm searching out a player, like some players I need to go hunt down to like,
right.
Yeah, you need to go train. But
hey,
yeah,
Nikki Dvorak.
Nikki, she's been doing really good. I've been really happy with her.
That's great.
I talked to all of them. They trained yesterday, and really happy with where they've gone through. And it's interesting as you watch. Sometimes there's ups and downs with it, and ups and downs with them, emotionally and mentally, and wanting to train and not wanting to train.
Right.
I think as a coach, I think your job is to be a consistent person for them. And I think if you're like up too emotional, it can mess somebody up. But I think if you're kind of consistent, I've seen this a lot. Like if someone's spinning, if I'm very calm and they're spinning, eventually they start meeting where I am. But if I start spinning with them, then it just goes crazy.
Calm down. Calm down.
'Cause
Stop crying.
It's like they'll recognize in their self that they're being too far out of, because the situation will be
Right.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Yeah. So
let me ask a few questions about you. So the first thing, like just to understand you better, what movie character or cartoon character or book character you would associate yourself with?
Movie character. I mean, the character I always liked when I was a kid, I mean, I still like, is Wolverine. I think you wear the Wolverine t-shirt.
I do.
That's
it's beat up and all. I recently coached in it too.
I know, it's awesome. But I know I love Wolverine just because he's relentless. I think that's a word I like to keep, and just that you're constantly going to keep moving forward no matter what happens. And I think that for me was always big, especially just how I grew up. It was like something happens and it's like, okay, you can stop or you can keep going.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Who are the coaches who influence your maybe vision? I would say as a coach, right? As a coach, like, do you study somebody, college, NBA, W, like in any basketball? Do you have any influence or trainers?
Well, I mean, I think you guys have all been influences me and the people around me. Like, I've taken stuff from all of you guys, like you, Dylan, Steve, the people that I'm around. I'm always like Monte, like the people that I'm watching all the time, and even like the coaches that I'm that are here. Like I watch things that they do. Like Jim Russo, I watch things like the two claps. Like I think there's things that people at the Foot Fighters, it's like but it's interesting. Like even like a drill like that is just a drill. If you watch all our kids, like how excited they are and how much energy he brings, and they get connected. And I think obviously, I think NBA. I mean, I've always been studying. I think the one I probably spent the most would probably be like Greg Popovich, and I think what I liked about him, and well, actually Phil Jackson. I think those two players, coaches, I was really interested in more, like in Phil Jackson's and his like approach with players, and like
just the psychology of locker room, and
I was never really interested in like the X and O's to me, like that stuff, but like how he approached situations with players, and like in Phil Jackson, I really liked like. In one of his books he wrote, like sometimes the answer is to do nothing. Like if you don't know what like the answer is, if you just wait and watch and evaluate and kind of give you time. And sometimes sometimes just waiting is the answer. Like sometimes
that's the Zen.
Exactly. That's the Phil Jackson Zen. And I think how Greg Popovich built relationships with players and things like that. So, and then FIBA, there's a lot of FIBA coaches. I like, if you're watching actions, I like watching that.
But you see, then that's interesting. Again, like your approach is to coaching is not from planning or seeing, seeing actions or anything. But your first approach is how do you treat players and how do you control locker room and the relationship. So again, it just says something with your connection with players. With that being said, if you can be assistant coach to anyone or like assistant trainer, what would it be? Who would you work with?
So like an NBA team?
Anywhere.
Talking about like
UConn women. I don't know. Just anywhere. Where would you be an assistant coach? Or who would you be assistant to?
See, honestly, like when you say that, like nothing, there's no job that I'm like I want that job. Again, it's just like I love like being at Concordia right now and like helping those girls out. Like I love being there every day. I love working with you guys, with the kids that we have. Again, like what I love working at any of the levels. Yeah, I don't think there was like there's a dream job. It's like to me working with like if I was working at the Bulls or if I was working at Concordia, to me it's the same job.
You making your job be a dream job wherever you are.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah,
Dylan, where would you be assistant to? Top that.
Yeah,
you selfish guy. But where would you be?
Alison Guth at Loyola. Just Chicago.
Yeah.
Just the way she like communicates.
Her language is
it's like
awesome.
in her organization, she's just like really, really good
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, I can see that. That's pretty good.
How about you?
I love Missoula, but there's so many good coaches. Like I think his personality, like he's funny and does a really good job.
Yeah, he would.
Like I like from same thing from language and verbiage and the things that he does. It's always innovative. Like if you watch playoff games, it's like a chess match, with everybody he's playing. And I know they didn't have a great season last year, and Tatum went out, but I think he's like one of the best. So I would for sure just learn from him. But there's so many good coaches, and then as Steve and I say, like there's so many ways to do it right. Like Kansas been running this offense for 20 years, and they've been winning program. Now Duke, like the Shire with relationship with players and this new era, and he like give freedom to them, and they doing well. And then you just go to I don't know, like UCLA and Cronin, and they've been doing well, and then UConn
And
2 years in a row.
Michigan State still is like the only one that's like a small, true point guard. Like that's
the
type
right.
of recruits
They liked it, right? So, or you got Alabama, who's all big wings, push the ball, fast tempo, threes, spacing, pace and space, and then like you got school Chattanooga, who like push the tempo, a lot of threes, Fort Wayne, or you go and just have people who bring the ball and then stay in the half court and
Creighton with all the sets and stuff.
Right. And then they just go right away. So it's always interesting, but I feel like there's always ways to learn. It was just, again, it's interesting approach that you have, that you would like make the place that you work at kind of your favorite job, which is, that's a good way to look at it. You got anything?
Are you reading any books lately that you recommend other people, like not even just like basketball books, but just like to learn more from these books? Would you recommend any?
There's a book I'm reading right now. It's a 1,000-page book, but I think it's really accessible for everybody. It's Arute. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
They got Spark Notes because 1,000 pages.
Well, IRS.
Well, here's
the tax codes.
Well, here's what is great about the book is I'm trying to read it cover to cover first, but it's kind of like it's being like unlocking your heroic potential is like kind of what it talks about. And it's
is it Japanese or
no, it's a Greek. Greek, and that's the Greek word for doing it. And I think it's I think Brian Johnson is the guy's name that wrote it. But he basically broke down like a bunch of books. He read a bunch of like books, and he kind of like not simplified, but like organized it in a way that he would take the best of what he thought and kind of do like plus ones. Like every page is a plus one, and like getting yourself 1% better. And what I like about the book is it's 1,000 pages, but like a page to 2 pages is like a book, like a chapter. So you can read like, even if you read like 3 chapters, it's like, it's so condensed, like he simplifies everything. And it's a lot though. Like if you read 1 chapter, it's like 1 page, and it's like, okay, that's a lot to think about.
Yeah, right.
So like I'm on like page 250 or something. And it's like every time I read 1 or 2 pages, I'm like, okay, put it down.
You got to think about it.
Got to think about it, But I like it too because if you're dealing with something in your life, you can go through the index and like go to it, and there's a chapter usually on it, and it's like, okay, read the chapter and think about it. So yeah, great book.
Oh, is there any chapters on oil change?
Oil change it? No, that go on YouTube.
No, I got you. All right. Since you've been coaching and training for how long now?
This is going on 17 years.
17 years.
Yeah.
What are your most memorable transformation from players?
Transformation of a player.
It's Adam and Darsh.
Darsh.
Well, no, Adam didn't transform yet.
Shout out to Adam. You're gonna watch this later. Well, like, okay. I mean, a cool story is actually bringing up Adam is I met a guy named Abdul, who actually I just played in that tournament. He invited me in, and he was at Wheeling. Didn't even play on the high school basketball team. I just met him at like an export, and while I was there, and I wasn't even playing basketball at the time. And I just saw him playing, and we started working out together. And then I was like, hey, I'll show you some things to get better at basketball. He was just kind of playing. He was like 17, and after a year of just training and playing basketball and playing pickup, he ended up making it on the team, and he played at Harper. And he had a great career at Harper. Like, he actually got some college offers.
When was that?
This was 2013, 2014, maybe. And then he ended up playing in Harper, and like became a really good shooter, and he's still a great shooter to this day. So like, I like kind of that situation. Like, it's like a random situation. We talked about whether like I choose a player or they just kind of choose me, and he's just like interaction and that journey. And I mean, I go to, I was at his wedding, and we're still friends today. And for me, like, those are cool experiences. Sam Gallinopoulos, I mean, her and Sydney were my first 2 clients, and Sam's still playing for Panathinaikos. And
yeah, it's insane. One of the best Greeks team.
Yeah, and she's, every year, and we've been together for that long. And she told me a story I didn't remember. I mean, when I was first coaching, like I was just working out with you, so we were like SEAL training. And I took her out of a game. I was like, "All right, do 50 push-ups, go back in." I'm just thinking like it's normal. And she's like,
"Right,
still remember when you maybe do 50 push-ups?" Like,
yeah,
I was like,
I could shoot after that.
Yeah, it's great. But and Sam and then Sydney. I mean, like, if you look at like Sydney, she's working here now, and how much she's doing for the company, how much she's giving back for the kids. And I mean, for us to be in that situation is where I'm her coach, and then I finish it actually with her 17U year. I ended up being her coach again, and then training her through college, and then now she's working here and become like employees and friends. So
it has been. I'm actually, it's kind of cool to think about it, because few of our coaches are people who played here, and then they go, and sometimes it's like permanent. They give another job and they just coach, or sometimes they do it really well and they go somewhere else and move on and coach, somewhere else, like high school, college, or whatever, the pro. So that's pretty cool, just to be a part of it.
Like Allie Pearson, like Allie coached her, and then she played college, then at North Central, then came back. Yeah. And then coaches with us. And then one of the coolest things I did, and now she's coaching college.
Delaney, right?
Delaney.
Who else?
Yep.
There's a lot of just in girls' sides.
Well, Christy played here, and then played college.
Autumn.
Yep. Autumn went to go play pro, and being a part of that process with her, that was awesome. And she's still playing in the summer. Summer pickup.
John Kerr.
John Kerr.
Mark, Big Mark.
And one of the coolest things I had was like me and Allie got to coach together, and then I was just her assistant. And for me, that was like so cool to support her and watch that. And then we coached a game, and I'll never forget that game. It was such a good game. It was Olivia. Olivia was playing on the team. I think who else? I think we had
Gina, Brand, Ashley
Brand.
Shabowski.
Yep, Ashley. And that team
squad.
We played this Hawaii team, and they had like 1 or 2 Division I players on that team.
Yeah, like performers.
And we just played the most ridiculous effort defense in like a 6-game tournament, and it was just like so cool to watch. So cool moment.
That's pretty good. Did you play other sports outside of basketball?
I did pretty much everything. I did track, baseball, football, basketball, gymnastics, and I quit gymnastics.
Horse riding. Yeah. What else you got?
Well, my mom was a horse rider.
Oh, I thought she made you do.
Well, I did ride horse.
There you go.
But not. Taekwondo. I got my black belt in Taekwondo. Boxing, kickboxing, did some MMA stuff. I was talking. I'm doing it last night. I was doing some of the movements again, and I was thinking like part of my athleticism, I think, came from doing the Taekwondo and gymnastics when I was little. Like I had a 25-inch vertical, I think, in 5th grade. And I'm thinking, like, what did I do? And it was just like jumping and kicking and that explosiveness and those movements and that flexibility that you get. And it was all, like, if you think about it now, going back to it's all fascia movement.
No, I was about to ask you, like, what can you take from other sports to do the basketball? And you started answering the question. That's awesome.
We're on the same page. Look at that.
Let's go. What else?
Yeah, and gymnastics is just like the strength and the hand strength. But then I stopped. I mostly then focused on basketball about 7th, 8th grade, and I played football for a year in high school, and then went back to basketball. But I think doing all the multiple sports. I mean, really, if you, like I said, I had a lot of injuries, but none of them were like major injuries. Like some things like that, but I was always able to bounce back.
Yeah.
And I think that helped. And I got hurt the most when I was just playing basketball.
Yeah.
And lifting.
Since we're talking about that too, what do you think? Can you like get burned out with competitive juice? Like when kids start too early, too much? And if you can, like, what do you do to not do that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that they're talking about like how much your nervous system can actually handle, and how much, like you said, like your competitive
Juice
bandwidth, you know, like how much do you have? And I think that's going to be different for every person. I think that's something for kind of like things to experiment with. There's also like, does your bandwidth increase, you know, like by doing all that things? Like if you're the same with like lifting, it's like mental lifting and nervous system lifting. I think there's like if you're lifting just the right amount, that you will get stronger. But if you lift too much or run too much, it becomes negative.
Yeah.
So I think that's also I think your bandwidth. Like, I mean, we talk about it's like coaching stamina. Like we coach 10 or 12 games on a weekend. The first weekend, you are just out of it. But like if you've done it now for 2-3 weeks, you built your stamina with it.
You can coach 13 games now.
Coach 13 games now, or at least like you're fresher. You know, by the 8th or 9th game, usually you'd be like, okay, I'm tapped out. But now you're a little clearer. So I think there is like that bandwidth that you get, like a conditioning, like a mental conditioning and a bandwidth conditioning. So I don't know.
Yeah. You know? I would feel like when kids start too early, at some point, like this competitive juice kind of burns out a little bit. So then you don't separate what's important and what's not, right? If you're playing 4 games a weekend, every weekend, and then losing and winning becomes like no motivation, because it's another weekend, it's another weekend, it's another weekend. So then it's like it doesn't, I guess you don't have a fear of losing no more, right? Or you don't have that love for winning no more. So then it becomes a routine. And when it becomes a routine, like you pay less attention to details. You're not locked in, you're not like motivated. There's some players who say, oh, I'm in a gym all the time, but then they do form slow shooting for 2 hours. So it just burns you out. Like, yeah, it's good you're there, but what are you really doing? So then it's just like this competitiveness kind of gets out of you because you're just doing so much. Like you said, like, can you get that bandwidth bigger to fit it in, or you're just like going through motion, right? And then so we say, like with lifting, right? You always have to increase intensity. It doesn't have to be weight all the time, but it has to be a timing, a superset, a breathing, a speed of, like the locking. Like people who have been doing it for a long time understand how to concentrate on a muscles versus pushing a weight. So like for me, for example, I don't need 4 or 5 sets to get my muscles kind of burned out, right? So I know how to do it with 1 or 2, right? So then again, like what do you do? What do you suggest to do for kids who just kind of end up being in the routine, who thinks they're going hard, who thinks they're working, but really they overworking and they just stuck in a Play-Doh?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. That was a lot to unpack there. I think if you go into it, if we're talking about, let's just go to the end of like, okay, a workout, I think there's volume and intensity, right? And you're kind of always going back. Like sometimes more volume is important. Sometimes intensity is important. Sometimes, like, I think as you know your body and you understand it, you know when to push yourself. And obviously you want to, if you're going to efficiency, you want to get as most done with the least amount of things so you can recover faster, so you can get back to it quicker.
Right.
It allows you to get more reps without the negative part.
Right.
If you go too far, you burn out and you get injuries. And that's what I learned later in my life, is like, I didn't need, sometimes I just thought about, like, I looked back at some of my workouts and I was doing 90 sets. And I'm like, why do I need 90 sets? I was done after the first 10, and now, like, even as I'm older, I recover faster and I'm just as strong, or stronger because of that. So I think for kids, I think if we're going to their, the mental bandwidth part and the burnout part, well, I want to use the quote from Kobe, is like, he doesn't play for fear of failure or for like the winning. He plays to figure things out about himself. So I think, like, part of it is maybe the benefit of playing a lot of games is maybe you don't have as many kids with the performance anxiety, because I know some kids that I train that have dealt with that. Like they can't perform in games because they have this anxiety of like their performance. But by playing more games, you kind of maybe you'll get more comfortable and you lose that. The downside is maybe you're a little too relaxed and you don't care if you win, so you don't have that tension.
Well, at this point, if I finish the game, it's good, and if I win it, that's even better. Which I usually do. So, but yeah, right.
So, I think for
I hear you. Like you looking at it from both perspective, and I actually agree. Like I wish when I was younger, I would play more games on a higher level per se. So then, like you said, that anxiety gets away of not performing well. You know, that's good. That's a really good point.
And so I think like with parents, I think it's like the secret sauce what I was talking about is like you need the puzzle piece where you're like you're the best player, you're the middle of the pack, and you're not. You're like
you're fighting for
or you're fighting for, you're barely in it, right? And if you find that right puzzle piece, it's just the secret is how much of which one at what time. When do you need to push them more, and when do you need to scale back? And that's kind of
we always say like every player or coach has to go through it, because then you understand psychology of everybody else on the team. And kind of like we said, like you can't do it alone. So in basketball, you gotta think about others.
And I wanted to say one more thing. So like when I know I was a kid, like if I didn't have games, I would go play pickup. Like I was thinking about my freshman year schedule. I would train in the morning from like 5 in the morning. I had a coach who would pick me up, and I would go train with him before school. Then my basketball coach was my first period, so he'd let me lift during gym class. Then I'd go to school, and then I'd shoot during lunch. Then I'd go after school. We'd practice 3 to 5. Then I'd go eat, then go to the MAC and train 6 to 10. There was no.
Then you had a gap with 5 years that you had to recover.
Exactly. So I was doing too much, but like the thing was, my competitive juice of
for sure
didn't get worn out. And I was thinking like for a kid like Modest, like you take him out of whatever, but he's gonna find a gym.
Yes.
He loves basketball. He loves basketball.
He will stand there. But that's why when like those Kobe stories and like everybody, like how insane it is. But like for me, it was a regular Tuesday, you know, like just 3 workouts a day, figure out schedule in college. I also worked during my playing career. I worked in a library and tutoring center. So it was like for me, it was like, oh, it's a regular day, you know, like when he was saying how he wakes up at 5 and do this. So like, I hear you, I'm there. But again, that's why when I start playing pro, I end up with patellar tendonitis and like other things. So I wish I would understand that balance. But again, like if you obsess about something, it's hard to. Nobody can tell you nothing, right? So you have to go through it, unfortunately.
And that's where like you can't make a player want to do that kind of
thing. Right.
You can set the situations up and do that, but like no one was telling you not to. You weren't going to listen. Like I know for me, people were like, "Don't go work out." I was like, "All right, I'm gonna go work out." It's because I needed it, like mentally and emotionally. If I didn't work out, I started getting stressed out.
I have a funny story with twins who was like crazy about it. And one time dad came to me and was like, Dimitri, you got to talk to Ro, because he wakes up in like 5 a.m. and dribbles in the basement. And I say, all right. I said, well, I'll talk to him. Does he sleep well? I was like, yeah, I guess. I said, well, how does he perform? It's like, good. Like, well, is he getting better? I was like, yeah. Like, what about school? It's like anything. So like any negatives? Like, no, but he just like dribbles in the basement at 5 a.m. I say, I got you. I talked to him. I go to Rokas. I was like, Rokas, do you really wake up and dribble at 5 a.m.? He's like, yes. I was like, good job. So I went to dad. I was like, yeah, I talked to him. So like that, like it's hard. Like Jake Fegan, like how do you explain the guy not to work? Like what's the day off? Like what is the day off? I didn't have one. Neither I understand how you're not getting. But then like what can you do? Can you do dynamic stretching? Can you do form? Can you do pull? Like I always suggest pull, one of the best things, because it cools your muscles. It's no pressure on joints. It works on breathing, recovering. So like just for you to do something, do that. Lift, get a light lift, get some kind of movement, some plyometrics. So then you can manipulate a little bit, but again, like you don't need to go full out.
I think I learned that
Yeah.
in my like, especially when I was in Croatia, I started to learn it because I mean I was getting older,
Mhm.
and I think just like I was like, first year I was killing myself like with workouts, and then what helped me is like I realized I could like, oh, I'll just go in the pool, and I started doing pool exercises, and then I would do like, so I would do the workouts, but I would do like way less intensity,
Mhm.
or if I really needed an intense workout, I would just make it 30 minutes.
Right.
So I would still get the mental like, okay, I did it, but then I would get like wouldn't hurt my body.
Yeah.
And I think that really helped me. And it's like, okay, I need to work out today, but my body needs to recover, so I would do form shooting.
You know, Steve actually suggested me that one time when I came back from Denver Nuggets, and it was that little gap before I went to Bakersfield. He told me that since I was working still on my feet all the time, he's like, just go super intense, super short, and then stay off your feet as much as possible. So I would lift, go to the gym, lift, go to the gym. So I was like, in between sets, I would just get in, do like fast speed shooting, sprints, cuts, like finishes, like all fast, fast, fast. There was nothing like no block training. It was just everything is just a full speed stuff, game stuff. And I would get away and, you know, like I would sprint between everything. So it took me, you know, a little bit over an hour, but like it drained you, you know. So then I'll just move on, and then the rest of the day I'm like, it wasn't fully rest, but at least I would save my stuff. So it was a good suggestion from him. And like I guess when you're a pro too, like Modest, you know, he lives in a gym. People like try to kick him out, but he would just hang in there. I always suggest him like just do quick, you know, if it's a form shooting, and then just go intense, go through your things, like do your vitamin stuff, like the you know, like the daily workouts you do, but just go faster and intense. Take less breaks. Just keep going, keep going. If it's 45 minutes, do it and then go. And you know, do whatever you gotta do. Yeah, that's interesting. You got anything on that?
You know, not on that, but one thing that I've noticed with trainers is that we need to bridge the gap between people that train and then the kids they train and their high school coaches. Because a lot of people like say you're training, you're making these kids better, right? And then they're not successful in high school. Well, DJ, why can't you just coach my high school? Or my high school coach just doesn't get it? Or how can you help bridge that gap between the high school coach and the player? And you know, it's just kind of like a bad narrative around like high school coaches.
Well, I think with anything, I think it's got to start with both parties being open to just communication and just being both mindful and curious of like, okay, who is this about? You know, I think if you're a high school coach and it's really about the players, then you're open to the communication with like, how do we help these players?
Right.
And as a trainer, if you're also like, if you're trying to get a job, or are you actually trying to help, you know, and I think both sides got to come into a point where like, who is this about? It's not about me. It's not about whatever. It's about helping the player and making the game a better place. So I think that's a first step. And then if there is some dialogue and some communication, and if coaches have that as understand that could be a resource, like utilizing trainers, because I mean, you can't do it all. Like you can't, especially right. You know, as a high school coach, you know,
with just IHSA rules.
Yeah, with rules, and it's impossible. Like if you're coaching a team, which is again, that's part of the reason why like the hard part for me of a coaching a team is I know I can't get in the weeds with somebody and like right. really try to solve something. You know, you're worrying about the team, and you have all these other things to worry about. And you have your assistant coaches, but then, you know, you usually have your defensive coordinator, your offensive person or whatever, or you have people worrying about, you know, culture and behavior. Like what my favorite thing at Concordia, all I have to do is I help teach offense.
Right.
My job is so simple, so I can work on training. And I think if coaches can look at a trainer and as a resource right. to like, hey, like a tool, then like that person can work with that offense, and then it's easier because if they understand the offense, they can give more direction on how the player can have more options or how the player can be more successful in the offense.
And then you drop AU coach into that mix, and now it's a love triangle.
Yeah, but then just say like coach is saying this is right. Well, not every kid's going to train with the same trainer and not play for every AU team. So now, say if I have to trust like so then now I have like 25 coaches that I'm coordinating and training with, and in reality high school coaching is about winning, but also like finding every kid a spot or whatever. So how do you like, you know, we have some coaches in the area that are really not fond of trainers and AAU coaches. Like, and we have a lot of girls that play at those schools. I think that's the difficult battle to fight.
Yeah, I mean,
Find out where they live and meet them in a dark alley.
the problem, I think there's always going to be conflicts. Like there's always going to be conflicts. And again, I think if people are, again, who's this about? Like, is it about the kid? Then you're gonna try to work through it and try to figure this out. And obviously, the way the landscape is right now, it's just. I mean, it's hard. Like you said,
I think it's like a first question you should ask. Like, who is it about?
Yeah.
And if the coach, it just turns conversation in different direction.
Mm-hmm.
If the coach says like, no, it's about our program, then all right, we're understandable. And then if they say it's about player, so then, let's talk, let's have a conversation. And so I thought it was a pretty good, directional question.
I mean, obviously you can't influence who people are trained with, but I think if coaches worked more with certain trainers, maybe they would make it so like, hey, like this guy's doing really good stuff for our offense, and this is a tool we use. There's this trainer that we have in the school, and maybe instead of now 25 kids in their program are training with 25 trainers, maybe a majority of the kids are training with one or maybe two trainers, and so then you simplify. Like at least I know if I coach in high school, that's what I would think. I would want one or two trainers that I was connected with that were working with my kids on the things I can work with them on. Obviously I'm not going to tell my kids like, hey, you have to train with them, but it would be like, hey, these guys I'm working with. And if you train with somebody else, okay, great. It's just another person you have to work with, but that's what I would think about it.
Oh, that's good.
What's your definition of a good coach?
Good coach, I think it's about the players. Like if you're coaching and it's for you and showing how great you are, then I don't think you're a great coach. Okay, X's and O's or whatever, but a coach in general is to evaluate a person and try to help them get where they're trying to go. And I mean, a coach on a team, you're trying to get that team to get where they're trying to go. But a coach in soccer and a coach in whatever, a good coach, no matter where you are, a life coach or a personal training coach, is looking at a whole player and a whole person, and how do you help them get to where they can be their best self. Like a team, if you're coaching the team, how do you make the team the best version it could possibly be?
Can a coach 0-25 be a good coach?
What do you mean?
Like 0 wins, 25
the record is 0-25.
Can they be a good coach?
I mean, I think if you're a good coach, you're probably not going to go 0-25.
So then what's the good coach?
But I think, I mean, if you're coaching a team and then you just hand a roster and like that roster, you're not winning in games. But if you're evaluating, is the team improving? That's the first thing. I would look at the improvement. Like maybe you're just terrible players and you're playing in a really strong league, but is your team improving? Are the kids having a good experience, or people having a good experience? Are they learning? Like those are things. And how do they view you? Now, if people see you're showing up late to work, you're not doing a good job, those are things I would not value. But if you're again, if you put Joe Mazzulla on that team and they go 0-25 because he has 4-footers playing against 7-footers, is he still a good coach? To me, he'd still be a great coach.
Right. I gave the analogy when I got this question was in the league that I coached in college, there's teams that had less resources than others. So obviously you have less scholarship money. It's gonna be really difficult to win in your league. Or I haven't talked about Carmel. There's really difficult to win in that league. You got some of the top teams in the whole state in your league. So
I just think it's more into it because again, is a coach good coach who show up to your wedding or your kid's graduation, or the coach who develop you the best and then you go to college, or coach who win more games and you cherish that experience? The team who win championships have that bond. That team that don't win don't. So then teaching you how to win is a part of it, right? Like you said, it's good that you develop. And so I feel it's just so many things gone into it. But I was just always asked that question to kind of see how you think. Because for me, again, what's a good coach? Is it you're the best, everything is good, but when you're done, you're done. You never see that guy again or a girl, right? Or it's maybe you don't have as good of experience, but then when your kid's born, that's one of the first guys or girls you invited or your wedding, right? Or your kid's graduation, years later. So again, what is more important, a long-term relationship or short-term relationship, or me pushing you. Because like if I'm really pushing somebody, we might not always see eye to eye or like each other, right? So like, is that a good coach who made impact on you that changed your whole life, even though that coach is not in it no more, you know? So I just always interesting how people interpret it.
And also, I think it'd be interesting to ask some parents that are in like AU realm right now, what is a good coach? Because I know, like, I feel like I'm a decent coach, but some parents have made me the enemy because maybe I didn't play their kid as much. And I remember after my 15 year, I played against some people that were on that team 16 year, and we were on the same plane, and they wouldn't even like look at me, right? But like, I didn't do nothing negative. So it'd be interesting to ask parents, like, what is a good coach, and is a good coach only one that only plays your kid and gets the best out of your kid, or is it something more for the team? So that'd be an interesting question.
Who recruit them and tell them how great they are.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's, again, like, I think we can talk all day about it.
Yeah.
It's such a deep topic,
Right.
And really it's a value. I think it's a multiple value system that you're kind of grading against, and obviously you want to do the best job with probably the least amount of collateral damage, and probably the most positive experience as possible. But like, I saw the video recently of like, what's the movie The Miracle, like the coach, like how you like won that, and it was like an amazing thing, and how he pushed his players, but also like just some intense moments that he pushed them as. And I think it's also like, some coaches, you got to be true to who you are too. Like every time I've tried to be that push person, it just didn't feel right with me, because I know how I push myself and stuff. So like, for me, it's more, I'm trying to like get the player where they want to be, and remove. I'm trying to remove obstacles.
You pull them with you.
Yeah, I'm trying to remove the obstacles so they can kind of go where they are.
Right.
But to push them through the obstacle is not what I want to do.
I got you. Let's do next. What do you think? Maybe something coming in a basketball, some new things, and what changes may come?
Can you repeat that?
Like, are there any new things coming that we're not talking about in basketball?
Like a new trend, or like what kind of system style?
Like, everybody complain about threes and no defense and stuff, but like, what do you think new things may come?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, just watching the Rockets play, like if you look at like, and I think I was playing with this a couple of years ago, of like, because there's the one college team that does like no dribbling. Bellarmine. Yeah, and I was thinking, well, if you run a system like that, just get a bunch of guys that are 6'10", 7 foot, and you don't need a point guard. You just need passing, right? Like pass over, and then your defense is so long. And especially with guys now like Wemby in the league.
Well, I mean, Thompson brings the ball, but then they play through Şengün because it's a hub. So like, you got a center as a hub. Like Jokic, like, do you really need a point guard?
Exactly. Now, it was interesting watching the game too, because then like Alex Caruso was able to wear him down, I thought, because he would bring the ball up, and he had to handle the ball for the whole game, bringing the ball up the floor. Now, I think it's early, and they're going to start learning how to do more like screen action to release some of the pressure. But I think like in a 7-game series, having Şengün, like, is he going to have like be more conditioned by then, or like, are people just going to put?
Well, I would say somebody else can bring it and then through, and then just get him. But OKC is smart. They put, like, they have Dort who beat up people. So
they did that, the same scenario you're talking about last year to Jokic. Caruso guarded Jokic most in the series, and just like Game 7, Jokic was like so over it. Like, it was just so annoying.
It kind of goes up like size over speed, conditioning, and strength. And like Alex, if you have a guy like
vision over speed,
vision over speed, you got it. And I've appreciated people that just make good decisions,
right?
Like I notice as myself as a player, it's almost always the fastest player on the court, and I would start to look at like, why are all these people that are slower than me either as effective or more effective than me? And it became a gap in my game. And it's just like, now I really appreciate vision first and making good decisions. And sometimes actually speed makes it so you make worse decisions, because you're getting to a place quicker than you can make evaluated decision. Sometimes like, oh my gosh, I forget the guy's name. The guy that played for Utah, he's retired. I think he's retired now.
Andre Miller?
That's your favorite guy ever.
I'll remember, but
Utah, give me more description.
He was a really good shooter. Bogdanovich. He played for Utah. Bogdanovich, yeah.
44?
Not Bogdan.
The one with the bad hairline or the young
the
guy?
older one. Yeah.
44.
Yeah. He was really good off pick and rolls.
Yeah.
Because if he wasn't like a speed player, he would just use angles correctly, and he would have all this time to make good decisions, and he could make the decisions.
Bogdanovich.
Yeah. And watching, like, starting to study people that are slower, like, really helped me open to, like, what things they do well. So yeah,
I mean, look at like Luka and Harden. Like we talk about how their deceleration is elite, but athletically they're not. But they have so much separation because they understand how to stop on a dot.
And so I think value is like, how do you use all of your game in decision making? But yeah, I think the trends in the NBA, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how, like we were talking about, you can do basketball a bunch of different ways. I think there's like having an elite small point guard, like a Jalen Brunson kind of type, like that can be really effective. And also going with the Rockets, where you're 6'7" is your smallest guy in your lineup, and you're 7 foot across the board. It's also maybe another aspect of how you play. So
yeah, I like length and athleticism. What are they? How do you measure progress? Are there any tangible things that people can measure players?
Well, yeah, I think there's a lot of tangible. I mean, talking about progress, the player could be, I mean, as simple as like, have I put 2 pounds of muscle on this year? Or it could be percentages of your shooting.
I was talking about basketball, percentage of your
shooting percentage. It could be, have I gotten, like, during the season, maybe your conditioning level has gotten better. You can do it with like tests. I think having little like things like that, and like even just a simple shooting drill of like, you do 5 spots and you go shoot 10 spots. Am I consistently at a 7 or an 8?
So let me give you an example. Let's say you're a 45% 3-point shooter, right? People find out, they prepare for you. Now you go in a season, they guard you different. Now you're 42% 3-point shooter. Is that a progress?
Well, if you say, I would say it's a null progress because you didn't adjust. So it could be a regression because of that.
But people play you different, and now coach have to be creative to run stuff for you. The shots have to be quicker and faster, and maybe you don't have as much volume, or maybe you have more volume because you were 45.
Well, I think a deeper question would be like, okay, so you went for 45, now they guard you different. Well, are you as effective still on the floor, or is your plus minus going up or down? Like, are you now attacking backdoor like Steph Curry?
So there's more intricate stuff to be into it. Again,
like if you go with, like, I'm going to go very detailed on it. So I'm going to look at like, okay, well now is that because they're guarding you different? Is our offense performing better? Because even though you're shooting 3% worse, by you still being that aggressive, is now there's no help and we're getting more effective plays. Right. So are you cutting different? Are you screening different? Are you effective at the rim? Are you getting more offensive rebounds? I think it's so you got to look at the whole picture. It doesn't really see.
I got you.
Yeah, and I don't believe anyone should shoot 45% from 3. That just means your coach isn't giving you enough shots.
Well, it depends. They talk about John Stockton who only shoot like 12 shots a game, and he'd be like 9 for 12 every game. Should he shoot more, or is he just really smart about the shots he was taking? And so there's like that, taking the right shots.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you have any advice to players and parents?
Just in general?
Yeah.
I think I'll start with parents. I think for parents, it's just like, try to be mindful and curious. Like try not to always have the answer. I think that's important. It's okay not to know sometimes. And I think like just ask questions and try to figure things out. And I think failing is important.
Yeah.
And communication. It just goes back to communication with your kid. And like sometimes slowing down and not talking is the right answer. Like in the car ride home, like you don't need, like, I know I dealt with that with my mom sometimes. Like he was like, "Hey mom, I don't need any advice after this game. I just played terrible. Trust me, I know." But like maybe
we still would get it.
Yeah. And then just talking. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, still, even when I was a pro, I still got it. But knowing the right time to have talks too. Like there is a right time and a wrong time. Yeah. Like sure, if you want to talk to them about something they want to work on, like you can pocket it and bring it up at a different time when there's no stress and there's no emotion. And it's like same with your coach. Like if you want to actually help the kid and you're talking about playing time or whatever, then find some real solutions. Like I know for me, if like I want to help every kid, like I want every kid to play. Like I don't want to ever sub people. And but like as a coach, that's the conflict you're in. And I think for like, okay, how does that kid earn it? And it's really about how the kid, like if you're a great player, you're going to play. Like if you're helping the team win, you're going to play. And not getting in the way of that, but supporting that and getting behind that, because it's going to work the best if the coach, the parent, and the player are all on the same page about what they're trying to achieve.
Right.
And I think the conflict will come when a parent is wanting it more than the kid, or, you know, it's coach blames the player blames the coach, parent blames the coach, parent blames the kid. The blame all goes around.
Right.
Well, you have three people not on the same page. If all three people get on the same page, it's just better. And then for kids, I think just remember it, like 5% of them are going to go on to the next level, you know, and for parents too, remember it, like, what is this about? Like remembering it's a game, and it's a great game. It's an amazing game because you can always get better. And the game is developed to, you can focus on developing yourself, and it teaches you how to do that. And it also teaches you how to work with players and work with other people. And you can get better 1-on-1, you can get better 1-on-0, you can get better 5-on-5. And for the kids, just have fun, you know, enjoy it, enjoy meeting new people. And if you do it right, you're going to have friends. Like my favorite thing is like Aubrey, Gina, and Allie, like how strong their friendship is through the game. And so it's a big part of it. So don't let the aspirations and your ego of what you get out of the game miss the moments in the game.
You know, they say with like the higher level, the more mental game becomes. What people can do for their mental game.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think in just development. I mean, if you're thinking about anything, if you wanted to get good at it, I use as an example like a video game. You pick a video game. Like, what's the first thing you do? Before you even do anything, you start playing the video game, and then you get stuck on a level or whatever, and so you go on YouTube now because everything's on YouTube. And you can go on and watch, or Twitch now, I think they have that. You can go watch the best players play the game, and just by watching the best players play the game, you pick some things up on it. Then if you really get into it, you can watch a guide or something. Someone wrote a guide on the level. Okay, so you study the guide and you go back and play the game. And then you recognize at a really high level that, you know, you press the button, your fingers need to get a little faster. So then you work on that. But that's such a minor change compared to like the understanding and the anticipation of the game. So I think relating that to basketball, I think a lot of people spend the time on developing like their fingers getting faster instead of working on understanding situations. Because if you see quicker, if I move first and I understand first, I'm already faster. Doesn't matter how fast you are, I move first. So in basketball, is a small court. So if I have a 1 second or a half second advantage on you, it's such a big advantage. So I think for players, just watching film, watching the best players, understanding things. And I think as a kid, what I like to do, I just practice drawing situations out. And like coach would talk about the spacing, and I would draw spacing and play with what that would look like. And I try to do that mental mapping. It's like, okay, what would happen if I drive here? Well, who's probably going to help? And I would just play with it. Like, okay, this person helps. Okay, that's the right decision. Okay.
You did it as a player, is it?
Yeah. And
it's a great analogy with the video game.
And I think, because again, the way I think is like, if I don't know all the answers, sometimes I could get nervous or anxious on some of the stuff. So it helped me calm down in a game, especially because I was going so fast. I didn't have time to make decisions, right? So I needed to make sure I knew, if they did, I knew the answer. Now, obviously, as I can learn how to play slower as I'm getting older, I have more time and I can read things better and use fakes. But yeah, that really helped me. I can go into my pro league. I wrote every play out we ever had, and I wrote it from every position and then every counter that the defense would do, just so I knew what was going to happen. And then I'd watch film. I'd watch film, the same game 5 times. One time I'd watch just to watch the game. One time I'd watch just watching myself to see if like I had a skill. Like if I didn't shoot well that game, I would see why. Like I would be like, oh, I'm rushing my shot, or I'd watch the clips. Then I'd watch a second time would be on, or no, third time would be like on my team. So I'd watch my team, and then I'd watch a fourth time. I'd watch from their perspective. So I'd watch the other team's defect, like, oh, what should they have done to stop that play, or what defensive things are they running? And then a fifth time, if I really needed to go back, I would go to one of those that I felt like I needed more, and then just watch some clips or something. So,
Yeah, I was about to ask about the film, like how to teach people how to watch it, because a lot of people ball watching kind of, and then they missing out. Like for me, like I said, there was no videos except better basketball. That was kind of outdated now with their training philosophy. But I remember like I would download NBA games, and then I would watch same games multiple times, and then like I used to love Chicago with Scott Skiles, so I would like watch Ben Gordon and
great team.
Brewer and Dang, and it's just
Kurt
like
Heinrich.
Kurt Heinrich, Duhan, and just Bargo. Like I would just watch them. Chandler,
Justin Chandler.
yeah, and then Curry. So I would just watch
Eddie Robinson.
everybody position, like what position, what are they running. So I would get, because I didn't have that many games, so then I would just have to watch one game multiple times, and then I realized like that's how you should watch and study basketball, because you pick up different things different, like who's running in transition, where they go, like what's going on. So instead of ball, you would just watch multiple times, and then after recognizing patterns, now it's easier. Like I don't need to watch multiple times. I just understand the pattern, so I can kind of see what would happen. But what do you suggest to play, like players, right? Let's say I'm a high school player, and like what should I watch? My film, others, NBA games, other high school games. Like what would you suggest with a film?
Well, I think the first thing I would watch would be my film. Like I would try to get the most understanding about what my coach's team or my team's philosophy is, so that because that's the thing you're doing right away, and that's going to translate the most. If you have a really good understanding of what you're trying to do, then your answers will be easier depending on what the other team does. So if they counter, well, it's okay. What is your philosophies? Is it spacing? Is it some kind of movement? Is it some kind of positioning? And the more you have an understanding, the more you can relax and make decisions. So I think your film, number one. And then, I mean, to me, I would watch the best in the world do it. So whatever, like I'd watch a team.
So you watch my film then?
Yeah, but your film, definitely.
Pattern counts in the cage 101.
What I like too is like I've always done this is I'd pick one or two players and I'd follow that player if they were like in similar situations. And actually, when I got older, even I'd started watching. I had more issues that weren't on the court, but it was how I dealt with things off the court. So I actually started watching players that were like in certain situations too, like how they dealt with media, how they dealt with failure. And I would watch them. Like one thing that I remember I was watching, it was like LeBron at the beginning of the year. I think like, was it 2 years ago now? I think he started like 0 for 26 and people were like from 3 or something. And they were like talking about how awful he is. He should retire. And then literally the next 2 weeks, he was like unbelievable from the floor and was like killing people. And like, he was awesome. And everyone was raving about it. So, and I would watch his press conferences when he was going through all that. And I would watch his after. And that was interesting perspective for me. So,
what was the difference, if any?
Yeah, I think how you just like the noise, like he just stays consistent and he trusts the work because he's been doing it for that long. He knows like this is part of the process and just how he behaved and he didn't let it bother him.
Yeah, it didn't bother him.
And he didn't go down into those like, he wasn't tweeting at people or doing anything crazy. He just kind of was like, okay, I'm hearing what you're saying.
From his burner account.
Yeah, maybe he was. But he just stayed consistent with it. So I think
easy money sniper.
And yeah, I think for a lot of players, like I was talking about the chess thing, is you kind of find out what you think you need, and then you kind of watch similar situations, and like you can learn a lot in real time or in past time about how other people are dealing with it.
Well, again, just if you recognize patterns, it makes your thinking and decision better and more efficient.
Well, yeah, I think I talked about it last part. Like for me, I could never take anything too seriously because then that's when I was stressed out or getting too nervous, or then only focus on the negatives. So for me, I would watch people who enjoy the game the most. Like Ronaldinho is my favorite athlete of all time, and like even like Shaq loved the game, And he always had fights with Kobe because Kobe was working so hard, but Shaq was having
Mhm.
so much fun in everything he did. So those are the people like, if you stress yourself out too much by like overthinking or taking so seriously, I think look to see the successful people that have fun in the games. And then that's the people that I emulate in my
I
whole life.
agree. That's how people wire different.
Right.
You know, like you said, what's work for you might not work for them. Some people
100%.
have to be locked in on their own. Some people need that camaraderie and, like you
Right.
said, having fun and just
Yeah, you talked
different.
about like Vince and Modesty.
Yeah,
the difference
and it's
between them
different,
too.
right?
Mm.
What do you think about that? Just to have a different approach, and how do you work together with that?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like just how you watch your player for joy. Like I'm thinking about like all the time, and like especially I go back to my last season. I learned a lot in Croatia. Like it was like such a interesting environment and interesting. I'm sure the word I would use. And like I try to look at the things I did wrong in situations and like how an environment can really like I've never really had like crazy performance anxiety, and
Right.
I would go to those games like stressed out.
Right.
Like my coach would joke at me before the game. He's like, "You look white," you know, like pale, like white, and I'd be like, "Yeah," because I don't know what's gonna happen.
Right.
And that's why I said when I didn't know like what we were gonna do, I felt uneasy.
Right.
And I didn't know like, are we gonna blow up? Are we like people gonna go start screaming at each other? And I think yeah, it's interesting. Like if I would have watched maybe some other ways of like how people find joy in that, it would have been interesting for me. So
Right. Because at the end of the day, it is a sport that you're supposed to have fun with.
mhm.
So if you overanalyze things, it gets you stressed out, and it's not fun at the end of the day. I just feel like it's really hard to continue to love.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I watched some players like they're able to go through like some of those situations and kind of brush it off, or like I always envied that because I would hold on to that. It was kind of like I think good for in the way that it pushed me
Right.
to always do stuff, but then it was also the negative of like when you're in that bad environment, you're trying to get out of it. It's like hard situation. So
You got anything?
No.
Is there anything important that we didn't talk about? You think?
Oh wait, I do have one.
There you go.
What is the definition of perfect basketball to you?
perfect basketball. I mean, if you think about like basketball, I like to think about it as like life, like right.
Right.
For me, it's like a microcosm. So for me, you want to maximize every single person. Like you want to maximize everyone's potential. So perfect basketball is like if you have 5 players on the court, they're all being maxed out in their potential and they're really working together. And you can see like anytime I see a team that like is kind of doing that, there's like no stress, no anxiety. They're just reading and playing off each other. So perfect basketball to me is them everyone maximizing themselves and just like and all helping each other at the same time. Like it's an individual of maximizing myself, but also you. Like how do I help maximize who you are? And so when all 5 people are thinking that way, and it's not just about me, but it's about maximizing me to help maximize you. I think that's perfect basketball.
That's a good question. When you close your eyes, like what are the first basketball thought that comes in mind?
First thing I thought of was Michael Jordan. I don't know why, but
That's fair.
yeah, just for me, like as a kid, him and Allen Iverson, my two favorite.
Yeah,
that's why I
they just live in your head.
Yeah, it's just like full time. Like I don't just watching that game back then. I mean, if I was a kid, like I had a little kid with actually was an Orlando Magic basketball hoop because of Penny Hardaway. We love Penny Hardaway, and like watching them like that old style basketball just to me it was the coolest thing, you know. So started playing the game because of Allen Iverson, and then watching Michael play was unbelievable.
Right.
Retired on the day I was born, first time.
Nice. We have a tradition that we ask question from the guest before, which was Jackie. Coach Dylan will ask you.
She asked if you could have any superpower. What superpower would you have and why?
Oh man. think flying would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was trying to think of like all the other answers, but I'm just like, what would be the
Disappearing
most?
from
I
a
was waiting
situation
'cause-
like that.
I was waiting because like the fictional character that you was Wolverine.
Right.
I'm like, okay, well he
Super
heals
healing.
himself. He got them. Yeah, I'm like,
But I was thinking about that, but then I was like, do I want to live?
it's like, but you're
infinite-
not trying to get hurt no more. Like, so
Yeah.
why do you heal yourself?
Well, and you're living infinitely.
Right.
So is that like, do I want eternal youth? Or like, I was thinking about that, and then I was thinking about knowledge, like knowing everything. But then I
Right.
think that would be boring, because the
Kinda
whole purpose
scary,
is like
too.
learning. Yeah,
Right.
you want to learn
Can't
everything.
be curious if you know everything.
Exactly. And I was like, well, I wouldn't want to do the most fun thing, and it was the most fun thing to me would be able to fly.
Fly is awesome.
Yeah.
He was thinking to disappear after that long pause. I wish I could disappear right
I
now.
was like, actually, stop time. All right, good.
All right. Well, yeah. So we ask you to
Leave a question.
yeah,
for
leave the
next.
question for the next guest without knowing who that is.
What would be the final thing on your bucket list?
Ooh, okay.
All right. That's good. Thank you, DJ.
Yeah.
was
Thank you
great.
guys.
Yeah, thanks, DJ.
That was fun.